6 of the largest stones ever moved in Peru are in Ollantaytambo. This is a sprawling set of ruins in the Sacred Valley. And as usual, you see the big, tightly fitting megalithic stones together with the small modern ones. Does the size, elevation, and distance from the quarry of these huge rose granite stones provide clues to unlock the mysteries as to who built these massive structures and how? Follow us as we introduce you to the Temple of the Sun and trace those megalithic stones from their quarry to their final resting place.
This is what I've been waiting for, the Temple du Sol. We're going to try to get a height on these bad boys in just a second. So we're going to go ahead and measure this rock and see just exactly how big it is. This is an 8-foot ruler, and it's about 14 feet tall. We measured the sides, and it's 6 feet deep and 7 feet across. That is one huge stone.
One of the guides said these were 80-ton stones. After measuring them and doing some rough calculations about granite from looking at things online, it looks like they'd be about 50 tons each. But anyway, look at this. These were huge stones to have been moving. And it's worth noting that those same unusual scoop marks that we saw in Sacsayhuaman was also seen on these stones. So is it possible if they had some way to soften these stones, they also had some way to move them?
Okay, so we're in Ollantaytambo, and I want to show you just exactly where they brought the stones from. They quarried them over yonder, right at the top of the mountain right there. It's 8 miles away. Now they say they let them tumble down the mountain. That's the way they got them down. Okay, I'm fine with that. They brought them over the river. We got a plausible explanation on that. But it's a few hundred feet from where they landed to they get up here. How are you going to take a 100, 200-ton rock? And you notice the inclination of these mountains here? You're going to 45 degrees, and you're going to drag that 45 degrees up here. Apparently it got up here, but I don't know if I buy that.
The quarry was definitely on our list of places to get to and investigate, so my nephew and I decided we'd take the 2-hour donkey ride up there. Thankfully, it was not 8 miles away like we'd seen in this other video online. It was only 3.7 miles, but it definitely immediately became obvious that there was some logistics issues of getting those stones from way up there on that mountainside over to the ruins. Some people have suggested that's not the actual quarry, but I'm just going to go with it. The rocks in general didn't seem to cleave in a rectangular way, so there were some rocks up there that looked like they'd been worked, and the ink and markers along the trail were definitely of interest, and there were at least 4 or 5 of them that were particularly worked, both rectangular and round. This is probably one of the more famous ones. You've seen it in other videos. It doesn't necessarily show evidence of like technology in the way it was cut, unless somebody else notices something that I don't. I'll give you an up-close view, though, just because I never seem to see enough of this really shown in the other videos. But really the most important thing that happened while I was up there was when my guide started to try to move one of the rocks. It was hilarious, so I rushed over to film him. He couldn't budge even this, this is a small rock. So then he tries to pick up this other one, and he does, and he's so proud of himself. He does a few push-ups sort of things. And I'm thinking, seriously, this is tough to just pick up this one stone. How do you get 97,000-pound stones all the way over there? And they didn't even take them the shortest, straightest distance across. They took them way down the other end of town and crossed them over there. So he said that the Incas would take the stones and just push them over the edge. At least that's the commonly held perception, because this is really steep. And rather than zigzag them down, they would roll them. From where they landed, though, there was multiple places they could have taken them across the river that would have made a lot more sense, and it would have taken them straight over to the ruins. But they took them way down the other end of town on the right-hand side of the river, down to where the farthest bridge is, and they crossed them down there. So, first of all, that doesn't make sense. It's about 1.9 miles, all in, but it takes you past the ruins to where this bridge is. They said that they would divert the water to one side, take them halfway, divert the water again, and then take them up. But from there, from that water level, you have to go up several hundred feet at least. I'm not sure exactly the distance until you get to the main level of the town. And then from there, you've still got several hundred yards more until you get up to the actual place where they were. And there's just not a lot of area for a lot of people to be perched up there. Like if you had 2,000 people on a bunch of ropes and stuff, it's just going to be tricky. And there's not just those 6 stones. There's a lot of other big stones up there. Some more medium size, but there's some of them that are even longer than the ones that, the 6 main ones. So there was a lot of rock being moved, and that really does lead to the logistics question. How exactly were they doing it? I wrote an article years ago on the stones at Baalbek, Lebanon, because they're the size of Greyhound buses, and I'd always heard, oh, we don't have technology today that could move them. Well, I got tired of hearing that, so I called a super crane operator, and he said, yeah, we have cranes that could do it, but you'd need 2 to make sure it doesn't crack, and you'd need a 4-foot thick pad of concrete in order for them to not sink down into the ground. Now, these are only 50-ton, but still, without all the equipment, they were moving it up and down cliff faces. And you better hope that's solid rock, not mud, underneath that river when you try to drag a 97,000-pound rock across it. Who built the Ollantaytambo ruins? Well, we agree with our guide that there was a worldwide megalithic culture that the Incas found and built on top of it. Our position is that genius giants post-flood, traveling from the Tower of Babel, makes the most sense. The stones are very impressive, but we don't think that you need aliens to explain the technology. We just think there's pre-flood technology that was lost shortly after the flood. But one thing is for sure, that they built these things because they could.